Yes, a big welcome to everyone who has tuned into the Pure Stories, a series of live sessions where we speak everything around creating a purest garment. I'm Diju Anup.
And Nandini Sundaresh. Today, we are delighted to talk about textile recycling, a process where used clothes are recovered to give a new life. And this is considered an important solution to the industry's raising sustainability problem.
Okay, this week we are joined by two amazing persons and change makers who have worked in the field from decades. So, welcome, Mr. Deepak Goyal. Deepak is
Thank
the
you.
director of Gitanjali Woolens and who have been offering mechanically recycled products made from 100% post-consumer textile waste from past 40 years. So they have been honored with Circular Economy Award by ICCCI and sorry, FICCI India and the the Davos Award by World Economic Forum. So welcome Deepak.
Thanks. Thanks.
And we have been joined by Nandita Sulor. Mrs. Nandita Sulor. Nandita is a textile designer from NID and she plays an instrumental role in setting up a production house at Bangalore that offers hand woven fabrics with recycled yarns for designers and brands. So, welcome to Pure Stories, Deepak and Nandita.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. Thank you, both of you.
Yes. So today we are talking about why textile recycling matters. So textile is the one of the industries that exercise maximum pollution to Mother Nature. In just 20 years, our taste for fast fashion has to doubled our textile waste. So, but Deepak, I think you started this textile recycling from past 40 years. And I don't think so anyone could think about this textile recycling at that time. So we would like to start by hearing your inspirational journey on what made your recycle old textiles into beautifully looking yarns for apparel industry.
So, this has been a family business which was started by my father. Well, actually, Gitanjali was established 40 years, but the family has been into recycling of post consumer textiles since about 55 years now. So it's obviously we've been doing mechanical recycling of post-consumer textiles since 55 years. And this was actually started that time not as a sustainable business because 55 years back nobody knew what sustainability is. Nobody was bothered about, you know, circular economy. I mean, nobody knew the word circular economy.
True.
It actually it was started to address the need of the domestic Indian market for cheap woolen items. That time also 55 years ago, wool was a very expensive fiber which could not be afforded by the uh, normal public of the country. So if we
Correct.
looked at our northern states of Jammu Kashmir, Punjab, Haryana, and the eastern states of Assam, all these places were very cold and they needed heavy wools. But wool was a very expensive fiber. There was a lot of those days import restrictions, which wool could not be easily imported. So it stemmed from that idea, and we started recycling used wool garments to meet the needs of the public for cheaper wool garments, and that's how this whole thing started. When it was started 55 years ago, that time we were only recycling woolen garments. But as we progressed, as we grew, then newer we started doing trials and experiments and started recycling. From wool we reached to synthetics, so we started recycling synthetic garments. Then came in cottons, we started recycling cotton garments. So that's how the whole thing transitioned from addressing the need for cheap wool garments to recycling all textiles. Till about 6 years back, we used to keep our mouth shut. We should not uh, tell people this is made from recycled materials. It used to be, we used to offer yarns, fabrics, blankets, all from these products recycled, but we should not tell it's recycled. It was just like, this is a cheaper product, this was a cheaper alternative. Yeah. But now, when this whole circular economy uh, uh, dialogue started catching on people's mouths, and people were taking this forward. People started talking about sustainability. We realized, guys, we are doing this since the last 5.5 decades, but we've never spoken about it. So I think we should now start talking about what we've been doing for the last 5-6 decades now, and that's how this whole thing came about.
That's really interesting to know, Deepak, from wool to synthetic to textile recycling, and it's really nice to know that you have opened up and people are like appreciating the recycled fabrics now. So thanks for that, Deepak. So Nandita, you have a very good experience working with recycled yarns, and I have in fact personally seen you training weavers to produce hand-woven fabrics using recycled yarns. I think a few years back we have also used it in our own pure cloth collection. So Nandita, we would like to hear your story too on your journey of recycled yarns.
So I think the rate of consumption in the past maybe 2 decades has increased so much that I mean, rewind 30, 40 years, most of the families would not buy like, 5 times what they need or 10 times what they need. And I think as technology has progressed, our rate of manufacturing, the rate of creating clothes have also increased. Mass production rates have dropped. So today people can afford to buy 20 clothes where they only need 2 or 3. So what I have started noticing that as I was growing up, I have never seen clothes on being thrown.
Okay.
In the past 10 years, it's become very evident that people. I mean, clothing was an item that was respected a lot. And in the past 10 years, people have started throwing because I don't know what to do with it. You have surplus. Once you're done with it, I mean, either you're bored of wearing it, you outgrow it, then you have no idea what to do with it. So it started, showing up on roadsides, in random places, landfills. So don't even ask. So I can see the need for us to, not throw it and take excess garments to a logical, carry forward or to a logical end. So this is when I got very interested, and NVU put up a job poster saying we need somebody to do R&D with recycled yarns. And that's how I went into the R&D phase where we took available recycled yarns and tried hand weaving fabrics out of those. And I mean, to the common eye, you can't make out the difference between recycled yarns and virgin yarns. It's only with the characteristics, its inherent properties, where things are different. And awareness has to be generated where, people know that there is this particular process also available to them. And I think the need of the hour is to set up collection systems where people are, people know where to give out their clothes. Yes, good clothes get, taken up by orphanages, people who are in need and all of that. But we really need, I think, to even look at the other categories where you have stained, torn, absolute end of the life clothing where earlier days it would not be a problem because they would naturally be made into mop cloths, white cloths, and the cloth would be used until the time it's almost reached the end of its life. Today the case is very different. So that's how I feel very strongly that we should all recycle everything that we use. Yeah.
That's true. That's even it's like you said, it's very difficult to understand it's a recycled yarn or a virgin yarn, right? So, like,
Yes.
there are
And also given the mixed content that all of these garments that we have today, earlier it used to be wool, silk, cotton, you throw it, it will degrade in a matter of 6 months or 1 year, it's degraded. Today that's not the case. You throw it into mud, it's going to be there for God knows how many years. And it's creating, I mean, you're not even able to estimate what kind of damage it's doing.
Yeah, true, true. Like even there are a lot of people they don't know about what is even the recycled textiles because there are even our understanding there are two types of textile recycling: the mechanical and the chemical, right? So even Deepak, who have the expertise in mechanical recycling, so if Deepak, can you walk us through how a fabric goes through the mechanical recycling process, starting from collection, sorting, shredding, and this producing the yarns? It be a big help to understand about the process.
So mechanical, basically, well, whether it's mechanical or chemical or biological recycling, uh, the first step is collection. Collection of garments. In India, we still don't have a very, very advanced system of collection of garments. But generally, all around the world, there are many advanced nations who have a very, very developed collection system. So usually, people will go and throw their used or unwanted textiles into garment collection bins. There are garment collection bins all along the residential neighborhood where people go and throw their this thing. Now, these bins are usually placed over there by the local municipal governments who will sell the content to the to the sorters in their countries. Now, the sorters, what they do is they bring all this to their warehouse and they do the sorting where they first remove uh, wearables. So these wearables would be sold as second-hand clothing in what we call thrift stores. It would get exported to a lot of poorer nations in Africa, Asia. Also, a very big amount comes in illegally into India through the back door.
Okay.
So these would be sorted for wearables. Then they also have a very big market called vintage. You must have heard about vintage clothing. So these would sell. Like if you get a fancy Levi's vintage jacket, it can be sold in a vintage clothing store for as high as $2,000. I have seen it sell for $5,000 for a jacket, which originally would have been probably $40, $50, sold at $5,000 as a vintage jacket. So
Yeah.
they remove vintage, they remove secondhand, then they remove rubbish. So, as usual, human beings are human beings, and they would start, though it is garment recycling, they would throw in household waste also at times. So they would have to take out all that rubbish, throw that, separate that. Then what they get left with is what they call garbage. Now, in garbage, they would either throw this into landfill or send this for recycling to people like us. So we would bring it into for recycling, where once we bring it in, we first sort according to composition. So we remove clothing separately, we'll remove cotton clothing separately, we'll remove acrylic clothing separately, we'll remove other synthetics separately. And then there would be stuff which is non-recyclable. So that would be kept separately. Now, again, in the next step, we would separate in the wools. Let's say, for example, wool, we will separate colors. We'll make a palette of about 50 odd colors. So it means if green is there, it won't be just all greens going to one pile. It will become, there'll be a light green, dark green, pastel green, there would be a medium green. There'll be, at least 6 to 7 different greens we'll sort it into. So similarly with blues and reds, etc. So we make about 50 colors. Same thing would be done with the wools, with the cottons, with the acrylics. And we would then, next step, we would remove all the buttons, zips, and trimmings from the garments. And then we get left with what we call a clip. And that clip is ready for shredding. So we put it into a giant shredding machine, which will shred this clip into fiber, and then that fiber is spun either in the woolen system of spinning or the open end system of spinning. Now we have yarn. This yarn can go for weaving, it can go in for knitting, it can go in for whatever applications. Then we get left with a lot of stuff which is not spinnable. Now that's non-spinnable material would go into non-woven industry, where it would be made into fiber and made into non-woven felts, which have large number of applications like underfelts and in your undercarpets or insulation. You know, it goes into a wide range of mattresses and going or sofas, traditional filling in sofas for making cheap mattress sofas or even mattress filling and toys filling, things like that. So this is the in like in
Complete
brief
process.
what mechanical recycling is all about.
Good. So I think there's so much of steps involved, I guess, right, in the textile recycling. But still, when you compare it to the environmental benefits, I think it's really worth recycling the textile waste. So for
Sorry,
Nandita now,
sorry,
yeah,
I forgot to add one more point. Most important, till the yarn stage, we don't use any water. So
Wow.
oh
we
wow,
are saving anywhere between 7,000 to 10,000 liters per ton of water by recycling post-consumer textiles. There is no chemicals used and there is no dyes used because we are using the same color from the garment. Let's say for Nandita Nandini is wearing a green color top. It will go into a green color product. We won't dye it anything.
yeah. I mean that's a huge savings, right? Because I know when to create a new fabric, most of the chemicals is when the color is applied, and that's a huge savings for in terms of an environmental impact, right? Thank you, Deepak, for sharing that. So for now, Nandita, we understand there is still a lot of challenges in the textile recycling industry. For example, in terms of the quality of the fabric we receive when it's in a recycled fabric, or even the price of a recycled fabric when compared to the virgin cotton. And I know that you have worked with a lot of brands, so we would like to hear from you that how easy was it for a brand to adapt these recycled fabrics in the collection, and also the set of challenges they faced,
Mainly into clothing.
mainly in the clothing. Yeah.
So lots of questions when we would approach people with our fabric. So there would be a lot of questions right from the process to where is it coming from, how has it been treated, what are the quality parameters, and all of these things. So a lot of them. So there's this big mind block where people are not willing to I mean, if you are putting up a recycled garment on a shop, I mean, people are very skeptical. They're like, maybe not. So there is a lot of inherent barrier where people are not ready to try it as yet. So I think once we cross that barrier and understand that we are using too much, this is our problem. We've got to deal with it. Where people will be ready to come around and start using recycled. Questions like, why is recycled fabric more expensive than virgin? So people would expect a recycled fabric to be cheaper than virgin fabric. What they don't understand is that there is a lot of process involved. So once you collect scrap, there's a lot of process that that has to be given to that material to be able to bring it back to a reusable stage. So part of these processes add to the cost, and a lot of other parameters towards the end where weaving is difficult. You need to add add extra twist to the yarn to increase its strength, reduce spilling. All of these problems would add to the cost. So once you explain to the customer that this is, I mean, the client, that this is the reason for it being more expensive, they're okay with it. But then the next step where the client bought the fabric from us, they made it into a garment, then they have to convince the customer to actually buy it. And all of these questions, I mean, would come into my mind also. Where is it actually worth? Okay, wool, I understand that it's very expensive and not too much of raw material is available. Where it's a, it's a win-win situation. But with all the other material, where you have such surplus of material, and where you have a recycled option which is more expensive, maybe a slightly lesser quality, then you have these questions as to why should I buy it? I mean, is it worth spending that extra amount? Quality parameters, we gave fabrics for testing, so quality parameters on paper was there for people to see, but yes, the skepticism was still there, saying, is it worth the added cost? I think raising awareness, and showing facts like this is what you're saving, and this is the amount of liters of water that you're saving, or so much dyeing does not need to be done, twice over for this. And also the fact that for us to use a garment for maybe 10 years, you're using it sparingly, a recycled garment works perfectly fine. Where so all of these data that has to be collected and shown to people, I think will help consumers being more open towards using recycled fabrics, garments.
That's true. I think there are a lot of awareness are creating like after the circular economy evolved, right? Even at pureclothes.co, we believe that creating a new clothes out of already existing one will tackle the fashion waste crisis, and that reduces the pressure on virgin materials too. So even our future at Pure Cloth, our future vision is to collect back the used clothes and give a new life by recycling. So even we don't know the Deepak, the question is for you. As a small brand, how fast we can adapt this recycling technology?
It's a very difficult question to answer. If you talk about pure cloth on its own, we've had this conversation offline before as well, Riju.
Yes.
For anything to succeed, you need, or to be, for not only to succeed, to make it economically viable, it has to be at a certain scale. Until you don't reach that scale, nothing is economically viable. So we could technically even recycle 2 of your garments back and give it back to you. But at what cost? Will you be able to convert it back into a garment and sell it? No, because the cost will be so huge. So to make it economically viable for you to produce garments at your side at Pure Cloth and sell it further, you need it to be at a certain price level. In order to achieve that price level, you need to have certain volume. Till that volume is not achieved, it cannot. It's a vicious cycle. I mean, it's the chicken and egg story always.
I think alternately, we need to develop technology where recycling is possible in a slightly lesser scale, right? I mean, you don't need a 2-ton MOQ, or I mean, we should be able to recycle, say, 10 kgs. We have to develop technology in that direction where slightly smaller scale, more local, and feasibility again.
It's there.
Where
It's
cost
existing. Nandita, that is existing. Today
Existing,
you can
yes.
recycle. You can do it for even 5 kilos. It's there. But don't ask the cost. Cost is tremendous. Because today today you see capital equipment to do all this is huge. You need a lot of different machines to do everything. The moment you start talking about different machines doing different processes, let's take one t-shirt. Let's take this t-shirt. If I want to put this in first, I have to remove all the buttons and the zips. That's one process. Second is shredding. Third is spinning. Fourth is weaving or knitting. All these processes to put into place in a small, this thing will cost a lot of money in terms of capital. And then if we do it in small lots, it'll be huge.
So again, I mean, why does the t-shirt have to become
I mean,
another
there's a
t-shirt?
lot
Is
of
my
factors
question.
that
If you look at other avenues and see what is the most logical, practical, economically viable method to put it to, some other arena, maybe, something else
Yeah.
where it does not necessarily have to become a t-shirt again.
No, then it can go in smaller volume. Then you can do it. You can do it. You can downcycle it into filling. Say we do it as a filling industry for non-woven filling into sofas or mattresses. Then you don't need any particular volume. You can do it with, small cottage industries can be set up to do it.
Yes, yes.
But still, I
And
think,
again, so
yeah.
I think we have not given enough thought into like what is the waste that's collected and what's the process that you have to take? Like, why do you have to shred it back to the fiber stage? Can you do something before that? Can you do something, with the garment itself? Can you do something else? So all of these, we have to put our brains to it and think about what solutions can come up.
Yes, even we are waiting for the best technology. I think we discussed with you, Deepak, I think almost 3 years before.
Yes,
When we
yes.
started our brand, I think. So that time you told the same thing about the MOQ. I think even someone asked also like what is the certain volume in at like Geetanjali itself producing
How much, how
yeah.
much every year you're right now recycling and
We are recycling at present about 22 to 23 tons per day.
Okay.
okay. That's a huge
So
volume.
that's about 23,000 kilos. So that's quite
Okay.
a lot of quite a large volume per day.
Okay.
So that if you can tell in a number of pieces, number of outfits, it will help.
For a consumer, because there's a lot of audience here, so for them, it tons or might be it.
So consider each garment roughly 300 to 500 grams.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Actually, I do the math.
So Nandita, quick maths. Come on.
Nandita is good. Nandita
I'm
is
not
good.
doing the math. I'm just giving you.
About 60 to 70,000 garments per day.
Wow.
That's huge. So I think this is the final question. So if you can help our audience understand of what is the exact environmental benefit again, like you're recycling this much now. So and you told that it should be in a viable scale and everything. So what exactly are we trying to reduce here in terms of the environmental impact? So that will be like a takeaway for our audience here.
Okay. Couple of things. Number one, greenhouse gases. So if we talk about greenhouse gases, let's take each fiber at a time. Wool. We save almost 500 to 600 kgs per ton of greenhouse gas carbon dioxide emission for every ton of wool which is recycled, because virgin wool that is during the sheep grazing stages, they are emitting a lot of methane gases, and that's what we save by recycling wool. Land use, I mean, by cultivating cotton for garments. I'm not, we are, and recycling, you are saving a lot of land which could otherwise be used to grow food crops. Right? So this is land. Land, I think about, if I'm not mistaken, every ton is saving approximately 2,000 square meters of land. Every ton of cotton. Water, we're saving almost 7 to 10,000 liters per ton of water per ton by recycling of water.
Wow.
Oh, that's
Energy and energy used. So electricity, we save almost 55,000 to 60,000 kilowatts of electricity for every ton recycled.
Okay.
So these are the broad savings. Of course, then comes the dyes and chemicals. You save anywhere between 400 to 500 kgs of dyes and chemicals by recycling. For every ton, I'm still talking about for every ton.
Every. Oh, okay.
So then you do
Nice.
the math again by, what Gitanjali is recycling is 22 tons a day. 22 tons into approximately, 300 and 320 odd days in a year.
Superb. So you have so much of numbers in your head. So that really shows your experience, like that proves that you have been doing it from 40 years. I'm really glad to hear that. I think this is exactly the information that we wanted to share with the audience here today. And like one is to bring awareness, explain how the textile recycling happens and what are the environmental benefits. I think we crossed that time. So before I open up for the Q&A, what I would like to also share with the audience is like at Pure Cloth, we believe that there are three essential components for an environmentally responsible consumer behavior. That is reduce, reuse, and recycle. And we believe together we can. So thank you everyone for tuning in, and we are now open for a Q&A session. I'll check what are the questions here. That is it. Okay. Okay, I think Anup has a question here. So, do we see any technological improvements in making recycled fabric at a similar price point to that of a virgin fabric? Deepak or Nandita?
Well, I personally, today, we are producing fabrics, let's say the recycled wool fabrics that we produce are cheaper than virgin wool fabrics.
Okay.
The recycled cotton fabrics that we are producing are at a similar price level as virgin cotton fabrics.
Okay.
So you
Perfect.
can already see there's a lot of development. And again, with volume moving up, scales moving up, costing will come down. Today, if you see the volume of virgin fabrics being produced is probably 100 times more than recycled. The moment our recycled grass starts going up, the prices will start coming down more.
That's true.
Right, right. I think we have one more question. Like Nandita mentioned that users are still skeptical to accept recycle. So is that only in India, or is it like how are the countries outside India accepting it?
Nandita?
So I think people abroad are a lot more aware, and I think their problems of surplus is far more than that in India. So yes, there is a lot more awareness, lot more acceptance towards recycled products abroad. Australia, Europe, very high. US is catching up. India is also slowly turning around. But yeah, I think a lot of lifestyles. I mean, a lot of sectors in India are still not. We've still not reached that where I own 100 garments where I need only 5. We are still in that. I own 20 garments where I need 5 kind of a range. So we are catching up soon. We are getting there. We are getting there.
Well, to add to that, today
Yes, I think it's
Gitanjali is
time to wind
exporting.
up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Continue, Deepak.
So we are exporting today 95% of our production, and it's going all over the world. I would say hardly 5% of our recycled products is sold in India. So you can definitely say overseas, in Europe, in Australia, in Japan, in US, people have much higher acceptance of recycled products compared to India.
What do you think, Deepak? Why Indian market is not accepting these kind of products? Like,
It's in the mindset of the people. In Europe, they've been being hammered with recycling, conservation, etc., environment since a very early age. We have not been being hammered. What see India today is inherently recycling a lot, as not from my time, but for, let's say, from my grandfather's time. A lot of recycling has been going on, whether it is clothes, whether it is anything. A lot of recycling happens, but the moment you talk about it, people's mindset is, oh, it may not be good product. Let's go somewhere else.
Mm.
But Europe,
That's
the
true.
mindset is different, that we want to promote recycling.
Okay. Do you think any laws and regulations might bring a difference and all? Because I heard, I think in Finland, they're already that kids are educated to check their label in the schools. I mean, there are some laws and regulations already, or even in the
Everywhere.
terms of manufacturing. Yeah. So, do you think in India
Yesterday,
that helps? Yeah.
yesterday Europe declared its circular textile policy. Yesterday it declared, and where they are promoting more and more circular economy for recycling of textiles.
Okay.
Interesting.
So
That's
this is
interesting.
the European Union, the European Union. So that
Mhm.
includes all your Western European countries. So they have to adopt this, and it's becoming a law. So by 2025, it's going to be a law that you can't just take a garment and chuck it.
Okay.
It has to be
Okay.
properly recycled. And they have included laws such as extended producer responsibility, and plus, brands cannot throw away unsold stock. They've put a lot of that. In fact, I'm going to be spending this weekend reading the entire law, because it's quite voluminous. So it's not going to be easy to soak it all over a weekend. It'll take me a week, 10 days to kind of completely, go through it.
Interesting. Very interesting.
So a lot of informations today. I think it's time to wind up our session. So thank you so much, Deepak and Nandita. I know you guys are both are busy, and you gave us your valuable time for this session. Thank you so much.
Pleasure. It's been a pleasure talking to you guys.
Same here.
Oh, so
Same here. Thank you so much for having us over.
yes, it's so we would like to leave our audience with a thought, like waste is not a waste until you waste it. So every choice you make has a great impact, right, Deepak and Nandita?
Yes.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well said.
Okay, thank you everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone, for
Thank you,
tuning in.
everyone.
Happy
Thank you,
Ugadi
everyone.
to all the audience who's listening here. Happy Ugadi once
Yeah.
again. Thank you.
Bye, 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 bye.
Bye, bye, bye.